Brad, what's going on, man? It's been a long time, dude. How are you?
I'm good, brother. How are you?
Really, really good, man. Appreciate you taking a little time with us. I want to get into a couple of things, but of course, you're going to be here playing Mardi Gras Galveston in a couple of weeks. And we do it up pretty big. I mean, I know Mississippi also has, has a decent Mardi Gras there. You know, New Orleans is going to be the epicenter, but I'll tell you what, Galveston does it up really well. I don't know if you've ever been through while Galveston's doing Mardi Gras. Have you?
I have not.
It's good, dude. It's good. It's like the big Mardi Gras in the state of Texas, and it's a pretty big state. I know you know that.
I'm actually really looking forward to it. I growing up in South Mississippi, like you say, I'm a big fan of Mardi Gras, and we did have it. We had a decent one in Biloxi, and honestly, I never went over to New Orleans because we started touring when I was young, and before that, I was a little bit too young to be going to New Orleans to Mardi Gras, and so honestly, I've never had a chance to go, but. You know what? I love Mardi Gras, and it's always been, and I say that honestly, it's always been one of my favorite times of the year. And growing up down there, and so and to boot, it's also our first show back of this whole of the year. I mean, we haven't played a show since October, and got a couple of practices. We'll be good to go, but we'll be itching to play a show when we get out there.
So okay, so it's your first show of 2022, but you mentioned you had done some stuff in October. How long, because, we're still talking to people about the pandemic because we're still in it, but I know bands are finally getting out there and playing, but how long does Three Doors Down go down and not do any live shows? What was your stretch?
We had about a year and a half there that we didn't do anything going into 2020 because we had a whole summer tour routed out for 2020, which wound up, which obviously didn't happen. But being said, we were already planning to go out in 2020. It really blessed us for 2021 because we already had the framework of a tour in place. And so we were just ready to go. And so we pretty much just took that footprint of the 2020 tour, and the dates essentially stayed the same. And we just moved it into 2021. And it was a 41 show tour. And out of the 41 shows, we wound up playing 38 of them. 3 of them got canceled. 1 was in California. The other 2 were over on the East Coast for just different regulation things that we weren't about. I'm not into the. I don't want anybody to ever have to show a paper or something to get into my concert. I just don't believe in it, and so we just wound up canceling 3 shows over it. But overwhelmingly, the tour went awesome, and so it went from like last June to October, and so it's just been since October. So this time it's only been 3 or 4 months, so we're still good to go. I was practicing a little bit last night, and I came up here where I'm sitting right now, and I was just practicing a little bit. I was like, okay, not near as rusty as I was last time.
But so, everyone has been different. Some people use that time to say, you know what? Hey, I haven't stepped away from being a rock star since I was young. You guys were signed very, very young. We're going on well over 20 some years now. Some people stepped away from it and said, hey, I really kind of just spent time with friends and family and who I could see, and I civilianed out. And then other people really poured themselves into, what you can do in home studios is so amazing. Look what you've got right behind you.
Yeah.
What would you say? I mean, all of that time off the road, did you go in one direction or the other?
You know what? I played with music some, and but see, for me, it's kind of a unique situation because I've never been one that could sit down in the studio and write a song. I've just never been able to do it, man. And half our first record, I wrote it on a tractor because I used to mow some tank fields down there. I used to mow some refinery tank fields down in Pascagoula, Mississippi, and I would sit on that bush hog 10 hours a day. I probably wrote half that first record on that tractor and I just sing songs as they come into my head, and I write. We've always wrote songs about life, and those songs just kind of come to you sometimes. And it's hard for me to sit down and consciously say, all right, I'm going to write a song right now. I suck at it, man. And so for me,
come on now.
Well, for me, it worked out great because I live on a 50-acre farm, and my wife races horses. And so it was this farm used to be a cattle farm, and it's all them old grown up fence lines, with that old metal, that real steel, tough metal fence. And so I spent most of 2020 with a chainsaw and a pair of long handle loppers clearing tree lines. And honestly, that's what I was just doing about 20 minutes ago. I had a chainsaw in my hand 20 minutes ago, cutting down trees. That's all I do, man. I play in my yard. I love getting out working in my yard.
So, listen, when I say that it's been a long time, I go way back with you guys. I was in New Orleans at the time that you guys were getting played on WCPR, with the Mississippi Gulf Coast. So, we used to talk to that radio station and they were blowing us up about the demo that they were playing. So, I know we went early with you guys in New Orleans. And so we really saw you guys, really coming up from the very beginnings. And it's been a long time. I mean, you're thinking you're 22 years, at least 22 years removed now from your debut album. Did you always stay in Mississippi? Did you spend time? I mean, I know you're on the road a lot, but did you ever leave Mississippi and live anywhere else?
I did. I live in Murfreesboro, Tennessee now, just right outside of Nashville.
Okay.
And I've lived up here for 15 years. But before then, I always lived in Mississippi. I lived over in Alabama for a minute, but I lived in Mississippi for until 2007. And when me and my wife got together, or before we got married, we was both from the same little hometown, but we grew up in separate little towns, but we knew each other when we was little kids. When we started dating, I said, I wanted to move to Tennessee way before that. I said, and she wanted to get out of Philadelphia, Mississippi. I said, you want to move to Tennessee? She said, hell yeah, let's go. I said, let's go.
Was there ever a moment where did you think about maybe going to LA and just basing operations out of there, or maybe New York?
No, not me, man. I can't do it. And that was the beautiful thing about Nashville, man. You can do anything like music business wise that you can achieve in those places, you can do right here. And that was 15 years ago. And man, now Nashville, man, it ain't even the same little town. It's like most of the people from New York, LA live in Nashville now. I don't go. Right. I don't go into town that much unless I have to work, because I'm a country boy as deep as it goes. And I 9 out of 10 times, if I'm sitting there talking to somebody and they ask me what I do for a living, I tell them I'm a singer, they always think I sing for a country band. I'm like, no, rock and roll.
When I look at you now and I see, tell me about the room that you're in, because it looks like maybe like a hybrid theater room / music room. And of course, what catches my eyes are the drums back there. And I always felt that you were more of a drummer at heart. I mean,
absolutely.
You can sing your ass off, but did you play drums on that first album, right?
I played drums on our first record, and I was our drummer way before I was our singer. I only became a singer because nobody else could sing. And I was used to practice one day, and we were like jamming. They're like, man, we got to need a singer. I was like, well, I'll try it. And I'd never sang before in my life. I mean, except in church. You grew up in the South, you sing in church. But so this is a hybrid theater room, because it was a theater when I moved into this house, and I just never took the screen down because it's covering up a window. But so these drums right here, if you can see, that's the ones I played on the first record. And
the very first kit.
Yes, that's the Better Life kit. And so I'd never had no nice drums. I'd never had nice stuff like that. So we went to Memphis to make that first record. Record company said, we'll buy you any drum set you want. And I walked into to Ardent Studios, and this was a rental kit from Memphis Drum Shop, which is a phenomenal drum place in Memphis there. And I walked in there, and this kit was sitting there, and there's a couple of drums that's not on it. It's got a couple more little rack toms, but it was sitting there. And I said, I want that kit. And they said, well, that's the rental kit. I said, you said I could have any set of drums I wanted, and I want that kit. And so there they are. But there's some DW custom maples, and they are some good sounding drums. They're a little bit jazzy, and then this other set behind me is a Pacific kit, which is also made by DW, and there's some really good sounding drums too. But I take them on tour with me sometimes, and Greg and I will do like a little double drum solo or something. And I ain't no good, but Greg makes me sound good because he's really good.
But I mean, it's funny. You rarely see two kits set up next to another. It's like an old 38 special, like live setup or something there.
Every time a drummer comes up here, we get up here and play. Every time Greg comes to my house, me and him just get up here and play together. And my nephew plays drums. So he came up here not long ago, and he and I are sitting up here and jamming on them. And you don't have to play a whole like extravagant beat when it's like two sets, man. 2 sets of drums going together sounds awesome.
That is awesome. So listen, we're going to talk a little bit more about your gig, but I'm just kind of curious because I know that you guys released a song a couple of years back, and I know that there was like a quote unquote like a single out there, and because of you guys being in the business for such a long time and everything. I mean, there's not one thing that's the same as when, you put out the debut album. Is there pressure to put out an album anymore for you? Lord knows you've got the catalog, okay? That you can do live shows. You know that you can be booked every summer for the rest of your life. And that's where all the cake's at. Where do you think Three Doors Down fits into the climate right now? Is there pressure to go in and record new stuff?
There's no pressure. I would, and to say that we do a whole album would be kind of like in this day and age, it'd be a little bit much, But I think I'd like to go record maybe 3 or 4 songs, and like everybody done like their little solo thing, and I put out a little solo song during the pandemic, but it was only because it was a song that I believed in, and I just wanted to put something out. And I wrote a couple of country songs and Texas country, not Nashville country.
Okay.
And there's a difference. Y'all know the difference.
Sure.
But so I wrote a couple of those. But man, it's more just about like it would be if you're putting out a song, just for the hell of it. It wouldn't be to try to sell any records or anything. Because to say you're going to sell something or this or that, and it's kind of I don't know. It would be way more important. Which I guess it's always been. We've never really focused on record sales. We always just wrote what we felt, and people just always kind of agreed with us. About all the records that we sold, man, that was 100% the grace of God and all our fans, because we were just making songs, man.
So one of the things that's happening right now, and just let me know if your head is in this space at all. Are you following along all of these artists that are selling their catalogs now? And everyone hears about it when it's Bruce Springsteen, and everybody, we're going to talk about it. It's a $500 million deal. Everyone's talking about it. And then you see the Dylans, and then maybe you see Fleetwood Mac, somebody sold their catalog, and you hear these big amounts of money. But you also hear of when you go look and you see how many people have actually sold their catalog. Have you ever talked about that openly?
I think they're crazy. I like getting my publishing, because we wrote all our songs, and
Right.
And as the lyricist and the melody writer on most of those songs, like our first record, I get like half that publishing off of that, and even after Matt,
is it for that big cash payout?
I think so. I think it is, because there's they kind of they evaluate your publishing on what it'll earn over the next 20 years. And maybe some of those guys that don't have a whole lot of faith in living 20 more years, they just want it. They want the money that their songs will make after they're dead. And I don't blame them much for that, But for me, I prefer, they're not gonna pay you a full on what your publishing's worth. And by the grace of God, and our songs are still around, and they still make some money. And I wouldn't some people affiliated around our organization, I think maybe have maybe sold some of theirs. A producer of a record sold his, and I know that he called and asked me about it. He's like, "You cool with this?" I was like, "Sure, man. It's your choice."
But you personally are not interested in doing something like that.
Absolutely not. As a matter of fact, I even bought, and our first guitar player, Matt, when he passed away, we actually bought his. And so, because I think if you have faith, if you have faith in your product, and I think these songs are going to hang around another while. And so I like just getting my publishing, and I don't need to. I don't spend them. I don't really spend that much money. Hell, I don't hardly ever leave my house, and so I don't really need the money. And so I just take it as it comes. That's fine.
Okay, so, and I know a lot of this stuff is very nerdy. It's very beyond what your average rock fan is questioning. But how often does somebody come sniffing around to you wanting to use a song for a movie or a TV show or a product? How often is that? Is that something that you deal with on a regular basis?
No, I think they would probably just go to the publishing company, because we're through Universal Publishing, and they probably just approach them because like Kryptonite was in, I think it was like Corky Romano or something like that, I was sitting there watching the movie, and I was like, oh damn, there's our song. I didn't even know. And I mean, you get paid for it. You get paid for it. But somebody else handles it, and I don't pay attention to it. And I don't know how much our stuff really gets used. I don't know if sometimes our stuff gets used that much. But I don't know. Maybe it does. It's bound to get used for something. You know?
It was, I mean, years ago, I mean, you have been around long enough where you knew that, man, it was completely uncool to have a song in a commercial. And then,
Yeah.
Bob Seger's like, hey, no one's playing my shit. I'm going to take the money from the company or, or someone else, and now it's just completely acceptable. And I didn't know if those things came around, over your desk.
Isn't it weird how like all that stuff that we used to think about, like, I mean, even like in 2000s, like everybody's like, no, man, that ain't cool. Now everybody's like, yeah, man. It is, man. It is crazy. And you were talking about our first record came out 22 years ago, it came out 22 years ago yesterday.
Oh, you're kidding me.
Yep.
So how old are you? Without, don't worry, but you guys were young.
Yeah, I'm 43.
Okay, so you guys, the whole world is being handed to you, and then you guys are all, and I met you all, because I wasn't that far, but you guys were young, and you're in your 20s, and you're coming through the radio station, and we're looking at you, and we're seeing you over the years, just going all over the world and everything. I mean, I guess, would you ever think about maybe putting it out? Have you ever thought about maybe writing a book or anything about that time?
I'd like to maybe some of it, man.
I'd love to read.
I'd have to go back and remember a lot of it. I'd have to have
being hooked on heroin. How does he remember any of that stuff?
Yeah, I know, man. Exactly. Because I never did drugs. I was just always drunk. And I just, man, and I'll tell you this. It was kind of I've been sober for 6 years. And so I went to treatment for alcohol. And because I tried to white knuckle quit, and I didn't realize that there was a difference in between like quitting and being sober. And so I went to rehab, and people, I had a really big misconception about what rehab was. And rehab is just kind of like junior college to teach you how to not be addicted to something, because there are methods to not being addicted to something. And so I was in there, and people have just, you meet a lot of people in there because not everybody's in there for alcohol. It's everything. And not that you can't completely destroy your life with some alcohol, because I was well on my way, but I didn't have this disastrous just explosive nuclear explosion event that made me go. It's just like all the problems in my life I could trace to alcohol, but you meet so many people in there. And I was in one of my little treatment classes one day, and everybody was giving their disastrous life story. And they're like, well, what's your thing with drinking? And I said, I don't really have any thing that pushed me to drinking. I liked it. And my lifestyle did kind of lend it because, I'm always on tour. And if any major contributor, it was honestly it's really sucky sleeping on a bus all the time. So you just drink to go to sleep, and because you're on a bus every night, 300 nights a year. And at the end of the day, it don't matter how nice it is, you're still riding going down the road.
But there's stories in that though. But that's what I think. I mean, and Three Doors Down, you guys have had a few things, and you've had some highs.
Oh yeah.
Lows. And I'm talking about going right up to playing to Trump's inauguration. Dude, there's a book there.
Yeah, man.
Problem is you got to sit down and write it, and I can't even imagine what that would be like.
Well, that was my thing that I told them in treatment, and I just say all that to say that when I got to what was the tragedy in my life, I said, I've got to do. And now, and my 1 year anniversary of being sober was the night I played at Trump's inauguration. I was like, what a way to celebrate a year,
Wow.
It was my 1 year anniversary, and so that and everything in the last 6 years I can remember so vividly. The tragedy was that the first 15 years of our career, it ain't like it's a blackout. There's so much stuff that I just don't remember because I had a buzz. You know what I'm saying? And to me, it's just it sucks to not be able to vividly look back on it and remember some of it because I was drunk at the time, and that's something that I'd encourage anybody. Don't spend your life drunk because you won't remember nothing,
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, I couldn't write a book. I don't remember that stuff. I just don't remember. I mean, 8
Me
years.
neither, man.
It's so it's so foggy. It's crazy. Okay, dude, Mardi Gras, Galveston. So I'm going to be making the trek from Houston down there. So I will be down there. I can't wait to see you guys. It's going to be Saturday, February 19th. And it is Mardi Gras on the Corona stage. You can get tickets now. You can get tickets at mardigras galveston.com. They do it up. Like I said, I'll go first weekend. I'll go to Galveston, and then the following weekend I'll be in New Orleans and I'll celebrate it there. And I always say I get the best of both worlds, but I always get to check out like a kick-ass rock band. And when I heard that they had booked you guys, I haven't seen you play live in a while. I haven't seen a lot of live music in a long time. So I'm really, really looking forward to this one, dude. I really can't wait.
I am too, brother. I am too. So does Galveston still have king cake though?
They'll have king cake. They'll have beans, they'll have the titties. They'll have everything, dude. Once it gets late, the party will be hopping. So for sure.
Awesome.
So it's gonna be a good time.
Awesome. Well, we actually have a day off down there too afterwards. I never have a day off somewhere, but we're playing San Antonio 2 days later, and so we have a day. We're spending a day off in Galveston and a day off in San Antonio. So I'm gonna go have some fun.
Yeah, get down there and get down on the beach a little bit, man. Get a little beach in your life.
Yeah, I need it, man.
Thank you, man. It's always great. It's super awesome to catch up with you, man. And I'll see you guys in a couple of weeks, okay?
My pleasure, brother. Thank you for having me today, and I'm looking forward to it.
Thanks, dude. Take care.
All right, man.